Well, hello everybody. It has been a while since I've done a live video on Facebook, but I had a reminder, of course, today that I need to get on here and challenge myself to do another video for you guys. And I have been dealing with a little bit of ankle pain. And if anybody of you have dealt with any little pains that are not from an obvious injury, I'm not talking about emergencies and like obvious acute injuries, breaking your ankle or anything like that, but sometimes we may get. All right, here we go. We're more live and better connection. So if you've ever had any ankle or wrist type pain, and it's a little like it kind of comes on from nowhere and it's subtle, I've been experiencing some ankle annoyances, I call them, over the last week or so. And sometimes when we have pain, we might avoid it. And so I did modify what I was doing. I was trying to do some running, and my body didn't like it, so I backed off a little bit, went to do some walking. And I kind of constricted my life a little bit on what I was allowing myself to do, and letting time go by and see if that improved it. And of course, getting sleep and all the things that can give information to your body that it can set it up for more pain sometimes or too much stress in our life. And but interestingly, I went out again today and tried to do some jogging. Start off with some walking and some just gentle walking lunges and things that I'm kind of used to, but warming up the body. And I was starting to do the jogging. I felt this kind of like this tight, achy pain, or kind of like sharp, really, kind of a sharp pain in my ankle. And it was very disturbing for me to try to like amp up my speed, but I knew I could go faster, but the pain was bothering me. So listening to what was going on, there's things you have to listen to with pain. It's not just information coming from the area you think the pain is at or where it's coming from. Also your emotions. If you're depressed, anxious, those things can aggravate pain. Also, even your thoughts, like this means something bad. So of course, I try to have a little bit of an optimism bias and believe that I can change my pain. So what I did is, because I felt this tightness in my ankle, was I decided to do some things that it's not something that I can prove any evidence for, but there's definitely a lot of people that are very manually based in treatments, and there are truly some biomechanical things that can contribute to pain. And so that's just one component of a pain experience. Like I said, it's emotion and the thoughts you have and the information coming from that area can equate to pain in the brain. So what I did with my ankle is I put it'll be hard for me to show you here, but I'll try to demonstrate. So with my foot, if you can see, I pushed down on my foot to kind of create some traction and just gently moved it. And what I'm doing here and it's easier to do with two hands, I don't know if you can see, but there we go, is I'm trying to free up motion. So I can't tell you what the diagnosis is. I mean, I really don't care if I'm able to do this with very simple, gentle motions and free up the range of motion. So I did that for about a minute. Also just taking some breaths and thinking to myself that, okay, I'm just going to try to free this up and creating less fear within myself, because the worst thing to do is get tightened up and fearful of this pain that you don't understand. And so what I did is just create this freedom of motion in my ankle, like I just showed you. And that was, sometimes you don't believe it's going to help. And so I try to maintain some optimism, and I just worked into gradually pacing myself back up to that and see if my ankle was okay with it at that point. And ironically enough, that pain that was keeping me from speeding up my jog actually was no longer there. So it's not really a miracle thing. I would say that when it comes to evidence of little things that are essentially harmless, I mean, obviously if I yanked on my ankle and popped off my foot, that'd be too much force. But just some gentle things that don't seem painful, maybe a little uncomfortable working through the motion, but going through that. And the way I'm talking to myself, the way I'm trying to move instead of constrict my life. So basically by trying to understand my pain and give it some freedom of motion and pacing myself on reapproaching my activity, seeing if that's what it needed. And so my assumptions could be completely wrong as to why or the mechanism by which it got better. But the point is, it is something that is very simple and has low risk. And it is a way that I manage my pain in most cases. And before it becomes so incredibly entrenched in my nervous system, where it magnifies, if it's something that I notice when I go downhill, I was actually noticing uphill, and it seemed like it was a mechanically based type pain. It seemed like it was just tight. It didn't like a certain direction, and so I tried to free up that motion, and voila, it's what it wanted. So I just wanted to share with you how I personally handle those situations, and it was a relief because I was actually going a little faster on my run, and then I had to be careful because I've been limiting myself on my running, that when I was getting back into it, that I want to make sure that other tissues that haven't been used to going that pace aren't going to be overwhelmed by the stress I'm putting it under. So just a reminder that sometimes these little nuances, if we kind of find our way through it, work through it, and don't be fearful of it, and understand that how you're approaching it, you don't want to minimize your life to the point where you become deconditioned and no longer want to use that part of your body. You need to explore and find ways to modify and to get re-engaged into life. And I really encourage you to try to understand pain better. Explain Pain is a great resource from David Butler and Lorimer Mosley out of Australia. Also painchats.com you can find, it's based out of Australia, and Lysanthia Taylor is heading up lots of good evidence-based information about pain. But there's just a wealth of information out there. Sometimes it's not good stuff, and so I encourage you to try to learn more about pain, because inevitably all of us at some point will be affected by it, whether it's ourselves or somebody else. But again, pain equals information from the periphery or from the area you are suspecting your pain is coming from. And that information is called nociception, for those that want to know the word, that goes to your brain. But it's all built into how you're perceiving it, the emotions you're experiencing. So your thoughts, the information from the body, and also your emotions are going to contribute to this entire painful experience. So it will dictate your approach and the behavior you have. And I encourage you to learn more about that, especially if you find other resources like I discussed. So until next time, I'm Melissa Cady, the Challenge Doctor, and I always remind you to challenge your health before your health challenges you, or in this case, challenge your pain before your pain challenges you. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.